People, welcome back to my channel. If you're seeing me for the first time, my name is Joy Anyamu. Today's topic, I will be taking you through what has been happening, what has been trending. That is what is about. That is what this channel is all about. That is what all this channel is all about. Politics in Nigeria. What has been happening, what has been going on in Nigeria, what has been trending in Nigeria. In today's topic, we are still on this Peter Obi and Felix Moka wahala. So we are going to be listening to Arise TV, where they will be asking Mr. Amadi, the statement that Felix Moka made concerning Peter Obi. Is it really that Peter Obi really crossed the line or not? So, my beautiful people, let's listen to what Mr. Sam Amadi has to say about that statement of Felix Moka. Then we will come back and find out if what his opinion is the true or he didn't say it well. Thank you. Please comment in the comment section. Like this video, share if possible, subscribe, yes, so that I will really know that you guys really like this politics news. Thank you. Then, thank you. I will come back.
That Moka had issued the threat in question following his criticism of President Bola Tinubu's administration and the New Year message. Well, on Wednesday, the APC spokesman was on the morning show here to double down on his denial that he issued any death threat.
You just played back the tape of the interview I had with this station, in which a very specific question was put to me. And the question, because when you play the tape, it's important for the viewers to understand the question I was responding to. I was not speaking in a vacuum. I was responding to a very specific question put to me during that interview by your colleague. And the question was this: you have hit back with a volley of attacks, calling Peter Obi a prophet of doom. Some of you have said he is always embarking on voodoo economics that are not in line with the current realities. Do you think this is a slingshot that has gone beyond normal politicking? Now, everything I said in my answer, including the last sentence which you referenced, was in direct and exclusive response to the reference to Peter Obi as a prophet of doom or as engaging in economics. So, in other words, my answer was, if Peter Obi was called a prophet of doom or was called a voodoo economist, he has it coming to him because he has crossed several lines of truth. End of story. End of story. There's nothing else to suggest in those words that I said in the moment of an interview that, saying Peter Obi has been, speaking a lot of, falsehood, quite frankly.
He says he has received death threats.
From who exactly?
Could it be that your statement was a form of incitement, to pro-Tinubu, pro-administration persons?
No. You see, he who alleges must prove. If Peter Obi says anyone threatened him, he must, beyond just saying I've been threatened, Peter Obi, I think he, for a man in his standing, he should adduce or, supply some evidence of those who threaten him. Because if anyone threatened Peter Obi, we shouldn't be having a conversation in your studio. The law enforcement system should be looking for those who threatened Peter Obi's life. So, but the point, I want to make two major points. One is that I, Felix Moka, did not threaten Peter Obi. Nothing I said in that interview begins to even suggest remotely that, Peter Obi, I was asking anything other than saying to the man who was asking me a question, he said, you guys are calling him prophet of doom or, voodoo economist. And I said, well, you know what, if that is what it's called, he has, he deserves it because he's crossed the line of truth. Now, I don't know by what medium or by what, effort do you then transmogrify that conversation into a threat to Obi's life and the life of his family or those around him.
Well, we're now being joined here on the morning show by Dr. Mr Amadi, a lawyer, public affairs analyst, and director, Abuja School of Social and Political Thought, to look at that back and forth and the manner of deployment of language in partisan politics, which can make or mar Nigeria's dogged march to genuine constitutional democracy. Good morning, Dr. Amadi. Good to have you join us on the show as usual.
Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you indeed, and Happy New Year to you. It's the first time I'm speaking with you in the new year. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'd like you to weigh in on what has been happening over a few days. I'm sure that you must have followed every bit of it. The deployment of language, and in this particular instance, between the National Publicity Secretary of APC, Felix Moka, and of course the candidate of Labour Party in 2023 general elections, Mr. Peter Obi. A few things have been said. Voodoo economist, prophet of doom, cross the line of truth. What precisely are we dealing with here? Is it strictly about grammar? Is it about, politics that is in the air? Is it about the fact that the ruling party thinks that Labour Party and not the PDP is actually the main opposition party? You've listened to Mr. Moka. He has denied issuing any threat. He says no threat whatsoever was suggested. Do you think that he has succeeded in clarifying the issues, or is this a matter of you go explain tire? What are your thoughts?
Thank you for having me. I think first, many things are involved. Temper, problem of temper, political temper, personal temper, problem of grammar, like you said, or better still, communication, and also a problem of desperation. And let me begin to put it clear. I think, and Felix is my friend, and we spoke, like he called me after this 2 days ago, and we had a lengthy conversation on this. And as I put out tweet immediately after that happened, Felix is a reasonable and intelligent fellow. We are together as graduate students and work together in Thréát. He set up the first socio-economic human rights center in this country of note. So I don't expect him to be part of a kind of conspiracy or a motor park, animus against an opposition candidate. But that's himself. But he's now caught into a political culture. I think that APC as a political party, maybe structurally, maybe ideologically, or maybe temperamentally, has, in my fair view, some degree of rhetoric that when they're in opposition, a former Minister of Information, very reputable lawyer and activist, we saw the kind of rhetorics and vitriolics, if you like, thrown at Jonathan and all kinds of names, including clueless, drunk. I think somebody as powerful, brilliant, and entrenched as Malam El-Rufai once tweeted that Jonathan has gone to plan another terror attack. It was on the tweet. So that was a sense of violence in terms of language that I think has remained significantly. So, like I told Felix, I said, look, you guys are caught in that desperation. That's number one. So, temperament-wise, political temperament, I think there is this sense of, if you like, rhetorical violence. But I don't think that even looking at a structural analysis of Felix's sentence, I agree with him that it does not immediately point to a any idea of physically harming Peter Obi. I don't think. I think that reading is suggested by the context of APC's politics. And some people are saying we've seen whether APC and PDP under Obasanjo and under APC, some level of violence, even killing, Bolige, we've seen Dokubo, we've seen different things happen, we've seen political opponents die, even in Lagos and elsewhere. So the idea of threats that could crystallize is not too far-fetched within the Nigerian political history. So that also informs the hysteria on the part of the obedient to say, look, yeah, on the face it might look like this doesn't mean much, but really look, embed it within the Nigerian political history. And you see a cause for alarm. So that has to be seen, that this perhaps is read within the landscape of what I said from 2014 to date of APC's rhetorical violence, if you like. We've seen arrests here and there of persons who have probably said things that under Buhari, we saw it, students said, oh, our money has been stolen, and or the first lady is looking bigger than he was. And this student was picked up and locked away for weeks. So that's really the context here, in my view. And again, maybe Felix should have come out to say, you know what, I didn't say this, and if he suggested I withdraw it, that's not what I meant. I mean, that would have perhaps put an end. So I also saw in the part of Felix a sense in which the APC, Felix and some of the spokespersons are thoroughly pissed off with Mr. Peter Obi for just one reason. He talked about opposition party. There seems to be no opposition party in Nigeria today, not the PDP, not the Labour Party. But Peter Obi has emerged, and perhaps New Year with greater resolve to be that opposition leader. I mean, I read a tweet from Reno, who is not his fan, saying that Peter Obi is actually the one who is now opposition leader, and not even Atiku Abubakar, who came top ahead of him in the election. So Peter Obi is now the real opposition to the Bola Tinubu administration. And so the fixation around him, the obvious kind of anger at the things he say, which never cross any line, by the way. I mean, everything he said in that broadcast is what you expect. I mean, we're watching what's going on in the UK, in the US. We see how opposition leaders, pieces up policies of government, even when those policies are well-meaning, they have a right to turn it upside down, to caricature those policies, and to say bad things about those policies. That's not crossing the line. In the same vein, the opposition is also right, the ruling party, and Felix is right, to call Peter Obi a voodoo economist. It doesn't mean it is true, but that's fair speech. That's fair attack to say, oh, he's a voodoo economist. Or say, look, this guy is, like somebody says, a purveyor of misery and all. Those are fair speech in a political context, because you are making the other guy look bad. But what's not fair is when you trade towards maybe mobilizing violence. And in a sense, if in the context that Felix said that, he said there'll be consequence. That consequence in the Nigerian context will be rightly read as maybe there'll be an arrest, maybe the state is now going to move against this person. Because really, there's already a consequence that you're opposing him, the consequence that you are countering what he has said. So basically, there's a consequence is needless in that center, and that's what created a problem for Felix. His other analysis, his other engagement, attack against Peter Obi are within, are reasonable and fair to attack the guy who's attacking a policy, a party. That's a good thing to do. But when you say there's consequence, it's really a superfluous language there, because what other consequence should exist for political speech rather than counter-political speech? That's really the problem. And that builds back to the political temper and understanding about politics. That's because Nigerian politics is inherently transactional. Nigerian politicians have not developed the communication ability to stay in the fight, in the ideological fight, in the communicational fight. Stay there, hit, take back, and hit and take back. So because it's transactional, they want a closure. And oftentimes that closure is to abuse, that closure is to arrest. So if somebody says something nasty or something that is really depressing about your good intentions as a politician, in real political engagement, you continue that fight at the level of rhetoric. You counter them again. But the Nigerian politicians, because they don't have ideological commitment, and therefore don't even develop the communicational capacity and patience, the grit to stay on the communication. The next is to foreclose communication, label that statement, say, look, you are a security threat, find a way to deal with you, find a way to arrest you, and that's what Peter Obi is talking about. It's typical of our politics, and it's going to be dangerous for us as we get to 2027 for two reasons. It's obvious that the ruling party, whether they mean well, maybe their policies are good, but somehow, I just want to be objective, but somehow the results are not there. The inflation is still high, people are struggling, people are poorer, by all indicators, energy costs is still very high, even though we've seen small reduction in fuel price. What that means, therefore, is that opposition has now kind of, a credible environment to attack the ruling party. Desperation sets in. And so when you can't govern or when you can't change the narrative, you're going to be violent. And that's the tendency. You're going to see not just in speech, we're going to see maybe attempts to clamp down. We're going to see, as we go into the year, if the government continues to struggle and can't find a way to communicate their struggle in a way that's pleasant and can't find a way to change outcomes on ground, you see them, ratcheting up the violence index in terms of attack against speech, attacks against opponents, and if we're not lucky, you might get into arrest or get into some nasty dark art of governance that we've seen in the past, assassinations. And so that's a fear here. So I see the ruling party in a difficult situation because they're not getting it right. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, if I can come in, Dr. Amadi, we always love to hear your analysis, but I want us to touch on the language and democratic principles. You're already going towards that. Now, Morka has defended his right to free speech while accusing Peter Obi of crossing the line of truth and spreading false narratives. At the same time, a statement was put out by former Vice President Atiku Abubakar calling the comments authoritarian, and undemocratic, going further to even warn that language like that was crossing the line and could signal a shift towards authoritarianism. Now, do you see such rhetoric as a symptom of deeper problem in Nigerian politics? And if yes, how can the country ensure a healthy exchange of ideas in its democratic processes? How then do we strike a balance between protecting free speech and preventing incendiary rhetoric that could in itself undermine democratic principles?
Very good point. I mean, first is the regulatory principle should be civil society, civic. By that I mean the media, all of us. So for example, the politicians have a market, they have audience, and audience are electorates. So if we push back, as people are saying, oh, come on, this is nasty, we don't want to hear you, you're talking nonsense, for example, they will kind of get the feedback that, look, these violent language they're using is not cutting it. First, the diagnosis is that Nigerian politicians basically are not schooled in. There's no difference actually between their worldview of Party A and worldview of Party B, or worldview of politician A or worldview of politician B. So in that, that absence of ideas, absence of worldviews, absence of differences that are substantial in terms of ideas. The only thing that's going to be substantial is interest. We want to get into elected, we want to win the election. And so that's what is feeding this. So that emptiness feeds into violence easily, because the language, what else will you say than to say you are stupid, you are ugly, you are this, you are anarchist, you want to overthrow our government, and we're going to deal with it. That's what comes up. But again, how do we control it? Is that first, I think there's now need for, and the media is doing a good job. I saw the way Arise News people push back on some of the things and gave him an opportunity to explain himself and also interrogate him. So we need to increase that level of vigilance and level of civic regulation by kind of saying, this is wrong. This is, you are crossing the line actually in this use of language. Call people out, that's number one. Two, and then the people who are speaking, the audience revolts by turning off and saying nonsense. As we've seen what happened in social media, people are attacking those comments. So that kind of give and take, that kind of dynamics will regulate the use of language. And again, this is also important. We have agencies in this country. For example, when we had National Orientation Agency, we also have INEC. I mean, INEC may not penalize or jail anybody, but INEC can actually also use soft law, soft power to kind of help, because NXT has responsibility under the Constitution for political education. We used to have Center for Democratic Studies in those days, and the idea the military had was to norm political behavior through some kind of institute that offers regular freshers course. One may argue that this is not about education, but it's also about education. It's also about incentive structure. So if, for example, politicians suffer for violence, and people point exactly to what happened in the governorship election in Lagos when MC Olomo reportedly issued those threats, and the police says, well, it's tame, it's nothing, nothing has happened, and people actually get hurt. Now, imagine if the Nigerian police and Nigerian security system, professional, fair, and actually strong. I mean, they are weak and beaten. We see every day, whether it's a big man, you don't even have to be in power. You just have to put up an appearance of being rich, and you can, take the police off their job. So, if the Nigerian security system is independent and professional, and picks up these few instances of outright violation of, even constitutional code, even the status of the country in terms of speech, and fairly process these offenders who are politicians, then you are internalizing an incentive structure where people know that, look, some of these statements, some of these actions themselves carry consequences. Now we are left with private action, libel suits, and here and there. I know that Peter Obi filed a suit against Bayo Anandoga. I don't know how far it has gone. Maybe Aero5 files one against somebody else. So there are two ways. The private regulatory framework, which includes what the media do, pushbacks, counter narratives, calling people out, naming and shaming, and turning off the ear so that they are deprived of audience, which means their market will not sell. And then also legal actions in terms of libel, in terms of suits, in terms of other kinds of actions. But as a public dimension, it's important that the Nigerian state and institutions that are control narratives, that have responsibility over use of language, not necessarily suppressing speech, because this is a tiny line you have to walk. I feel like Chichinwizu and his colleagues said about Shoyinka many years ago, that a good wrestling does not defeat a sturdy youth. Meaning, look, people have to wrestle. It is a contact game. Politics, they have to communicate, they have to put down their opponent's position respectfully. They have to be very vehement in denouncing what others are not doing well. So I would like us to have a tape where nobody says nothing. You say, okay, just kiss yourselves and go. No, there should be real communicational struggle to make politics become, bring out the issues and let people know what the issues are. But at the same time, there should be a sense in which we know that anybody who procures violence against another person we have to answer to the law. I think that's really what's missing here, that politicians actually have leeway. There's no accountability structure, whether in the informal sense of the media and all of us tuning off and blacklisting those who deliberately, stoke violence against either ethnic groups or individuals, or that's one level of, disincentive, or the state moving in and calling them to order. So, but I think really that what kind of exaggerated what Felix Moka said is actually the existing sense of, fight, necessarily fight over Peter Obi and Tinubu's government, that this weaponization, the sense that Peter Obi, in my view, probably roiled the Tinubu people by going to Lagos and defeating Tinubu. This is historic. Don't forget that Tinubu has never lost an election in Lagos, at least since 1999. So that victory and the fact that Obedience continue to claim to be the winner is true that they came third, but are the people who claim that they won the election. And so in Nigeria's politics, this kind of irritates and infuriates. You can see in the statements put out by APC that Peter Obi irritates them. There's a real sense of dislike beyond, partisanship against this guy who probably, flies in their skin all the time by the Bidens themselves noisome, themselves sometimes very irreverent and could be almost rhetorically violent in the way they deal with it. So it's like they look at the Bidens and say, look, this guy again, this nasty guy again. So I see that venom, I see that dislike, deep dislike in Felix's statements and what the APC people issue about Peter Obi. But I didn't see that, look, this guy has taken time to think that it's going to harm this man. No. I think it was a careless phrasing in his last comment, which you could take back and say, if he was misunderstanding, I take it back, I didn't mean it. And that probably could have, helped to solve this crisis. But the bigger picture here is that they have to accept that, look, we're going to have a Peter Obi do these things on and on as we go into 2023. APC has to find a way to hit back
Dr.
hard
Amadi,
without crossing the line themselves.
Okay, fantastic analysis. That's where I'm actually coming. I like the point that you raised about politics being a contact sport as far as verbal gymnastics is concerned. I like the fact that you brought in the reference of Chinwezu, Professor Wole Soyinka. You could extend that to bring in the idea of a Chimamanda, and Professor Wole Soyinka leading to the 2023 general elections. Absolutely. Contact sport, but then measured, fair comment. But we're not talking about third parties who are supporting candidates now. We're talking about candidates themselves and political parties and their spokespersons. So it's a bit different. And my point is, it isn't only Mr. Peter Obi that is speaking out loudly against the policies of government. Abubakar Atiku, PDP's candidate in the last election, is also speaking. Shure has always been speaking. Even Adewale Adebayo, the candidate of the SDP in the last general election, has also been speaking. As a matter of fact, 2 days ago on Thursday, at the 13th anniversary lecture, January 9th Collective, a socio-cultural association in Lagos, he was the keynote speaker and he dissected the policies of the Tinubu administration, brilliantly, beautifully. But the point is, you won't see, you won't see a Felix Moka or some of the other spokespersons or supporters of the APC come heavily on an Adewale or a Sowore or even an Atiku, the way that they come on Peter Obi. So two key things for me, which are like the questions. We're not even at the midterm level yet, and things are this heated up. How do you think that the APC should conduct themselves when things get really toughened by the time that we cross the second year mark, for the administration, in terms of moderating their language, in terms of communicating better, rather than just, throwing volleys of words that can be misinterpreted. And the second part will be, just like you said, Mr. Peter Obi will be the irritant, in quotes, that they will come for. I think former Governor of Ekiti, Ayofashe, said that you can't wish away this man and his obedience up until 2027, and therefore you have to find a way to deal with him. But my point is that when they now come for him, as they will most certainly do, at what point should Mr. Obi himself chill and not cry out to say, oh, they're after me, oh, they want to destroy me, they want to destroy my businesses, etc., because they will always constantly come for him.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, great questions. Okay, let's start, maybe I'll start with the last, and if I miss out, you remind me. Now, I think that two things are happening here. Mr. Peter Obi is a very intelligent guy. I mean, in a different way. It doesn't sound academic or brilliant in that sense, but smart guy. Look, it is true that when Peter Obi, they're coming after me, it's also part of political communication. They say, first, he's a guy who is out there fighting for the people. His political strategy has been very clear: to be that suffering messiah, to be that guy who cares about the ordinary people, to be that guy whose views are different. And I think he's really maximizing that narrative and that persona. And so, unfortunately for the APC, what they have done in the last week has been to improve Peter Obi's standing. Because, look, everybody knows that, look, things are not going well. And then you are victimizing the guy who is saying things are not going well. And this guy you are victimizing saying, they're after me. I don't mind dying for speaking the truth. So who wins? The guy who is victimized. We saw that play out in the American election, where Trump, every crisis goes through, every persecution feeds back into the persona of this suffering messiah, of this warrior who has to fight for us. So I think the APC strategy should think again around that. And again, Peter Obi, politics, a little bit different. I mean, people who say things about, he might be, say, oh, he's still part of establishment, he's trying to pretend. But the point is, in the 2023 election, he was the upstart who scattered the table. And like Fayose, you don't like him, but smart guy, gets his sense right and this kind of things. He changed everything. He did what nobody has done. He won Lagos. That's huge. He won Abuja. And from some estimation, probably won Port Harcourt. Okay, River State. So if you look at that, he changed the game from nowhere with no party. Basically, that's why I said this is not about party. Adebayo, you're absolutely correct. A brilliant guy. Each time he speaks, you see that sense of somebody who understands public policy. So he's been out there fighting this government, saying things. I think Abubakar, who's supposed to be the Lord, in opposition politics. This is a man who is himself an institution, doesn't get this fight back. What it tells you is very simple. The biggest threat to APC is Peter Obi, interestingly. It was in 2023, it's still what it is 2027, for two reasons. Either Peter Obi goes out and wins the next election, or he becomes the pathway for an Atiku Abubakar to win, or Kwakwanso, or any other person. So Peter Obi is central to whether APC keeps the power or not. And they know that they're not dumb. They know that, if it's possible to extinguish him, I don't mean physically, politically, they would do that immediately, because that's the real threat they have. Now back to also what the party should be doing. I've said before that APC's, how it's formed, the two temperaments that came in, don't forget APC dominantly, the Buhari's platform and Tinubu platform largely, and then a rump of angry PDP and APGA here and there coming together. The two tendencies are politically a violent tendencies. It doesn't mean they are progressive, they may have great ideas, but historically, you saw the way Buhari and his people play their politics. You saw the way Tinubu also used these structures in Lagos to keep his political relevance. And so they need to relearn. I think a APC reflex would be to be violent, and I don't mean physically, maybe not, but I mean in the sense of, look, we can't tolerate this. How do we bump these guys off our lane? So it won't be like PDP in 2014. And I will tell people, PDP in 2014, PDP has always had a very temperate, national look, jolly platform, and it has been its undoing in 2014 because they couldn't face the avalanche of attack from APC with the way APC is responding. So APC is going to come up strong. It's in their DNA. They're going to come up. The question then is, what will balance? What will give up? So I have fears as we run to 2027 that we're going to see a renewed era of re-violence now. And the question then is, what can pull back? Three things I think may happen. I think that the fact that that level of violence may not work. Again, look at the guys, the kids on the block, on the APC side. You see Ganduje, who's the chairman. You've seen the president himself, who is tough guy who understands this dark art and has played this game deep. You see the government of Odema, who himself is a game man on that level. You see now Wike, part of this. So nothing will stop APC from deploying those dark art. And because governance does not respond to politics easily, I mean, the odds, the economy may not get better in a significant way, things may not work well, the global economy may come in and help to shape the outcome. So they may be left with nothing but some kind of what we call in Nigeria ruffle. How will Peter Obi, Atiku, and these opposition figures, Adebayo, how would they play their card? I want to discount the parties. The parties don't count here. PDP, Labour Party, I discount them. I look at Peter Obi, Atiku Abubakar, Adebayo, and Kwakwanso, all these guys are the people that count. How will they play their game? So their response to what I predict will be APC's pro-violence approach, because really, by character, by nature, and by what they are gathering together, and by the guys who define their strategy, I don't see them being that nice like PDP. I see them, deploying all their firmament to try to pull down these guys one way or the other. And I've not seen the government itself, focus on changing governance. I mean, the time is still there to change outcomes. But the configuration of government, in my view, and the guys who are running things, I don't see where they're going to fetch fresh initiative, innovation to turn things rapidly around. Maybe if the global economy works better and some of the impact shapes what to get, things may get better. But really, they are going to lack the message that is positive because of how things, in my view, will look run down to 27. And so we're going to wake up to the fact that you're going to have a strong ruling party that doesn't want to lose power, but doesn't have the national goodwill to win power easily. And so the logical thing is that either the opposition gets them out quickly, or they probably want to get the opposition decimated one way or the other. And so my prediction is, except something changes, we should brace up for a very tough election period that's will be marked by different degrees of violence and rhetoric, dark arts, arrests, attempt to take people out, manipulate systems, because both the DNA and the profile of the movements infused in the ruling party suggest that that's their first resort. And again, Peter Obi, as part of why they thought he didn't win the election, some of his supporters, that he didn't man up enough. And it looks like, as the game goes further, he probably is going to man up in a more significant way. His New Year message is a sense of saying, here I stand, they want to kill me, something like that, but I'm going to stay in this, I'm going to fight on this, I'm going to, and he reinforced it a few days ago, say, look, I'm fighting for the common people, I'm fighting against this situation, I don't know what it costs me. So are we going to see a more defiant Peter Obi who will now, by that defiance, draw some of the people who are saying, look, this guy has some ideas, but does he have the grit? Does he have the dark side to come out? Maybe in 2025 we'll see a different kind of Peter Obi, a different kind of obedient movement, but unfortunately I think it's not good for the moral climate of our politics, because it means that we might see a high degree of violence in terms of rhetoric, and oftentimes violence in rhetoric in politics leads to actual violence. That's really the problem here.
All right, Dr. Sam Amadi, brilliant submissions as always.
Beautiful people, welcome back. Yes, we have heard what Mr. Amadi has just analyzed. What did you guys think about what he just said? Did you think that he made a point in what he analyzed, or he did not make any point? Yes, I know that this man, Mr. Amadi, know exactly what he is talking about, but somehow he's not trying to step in anybody's toes, because he just, before he started this interview or this analysis, he said that he spoke with Mr. Moka 2 days ago concerning this matter, which means he has a relationship with Felix Moka, and he still have a relationship with Peter Obi. Really, if you see the way this man is talking, this Mr. Amadi, you really know that he knows what he's saying, and he knows that what Peter Obi say is true, because he even make mention of it, that you cannot attack Peter Obi, because Peter Obi came out to speak on a New Year speech, to make his New Year's speech, and it was just saying the fact, truth, what people has been going on, what people have been going through, okay, in Nigeria, what has been going on in Nigeria, what people has been suffering in Nigeria. So he just came out to speak his honest fact there, and for him saying that Peter Obi, all of us in Nigeria, we know that Peter Obi won that election. Remember, he won Lagos, even the federal capital, which is Abuja, he won. And remember, in Buhari regime, they said if you don't win anything, you win. If you don't win federal capital, you are not going to emerge as a president. But when it comes to Peter Obi, they declined this thing. That's what they used to call it. They declined that law. Yes, they declined that law that if Peter, it doesn't matter, it doesn't really mean. Yes. So, and secondly too, everybody knows that Peter Obi win, and APC is always, when it comes, because Peter Obi is their threat. Peter Obi is their fear, because they saw what happened 2023 election. They know that Peter Obi is their threat. Peter Obi is their problem, big problem. That is why, as according to what the man said, that when other candidates will come out to talk, you will see APC will not even answer. APC will not even talk anything. But immediately Peter Obi come out to make any statement, and you will see they will rush. I don't know the problem they have with Peter Obi. And you see, even when he said that APC are very violent, they are very, very violent. Remember the last interview in morning show, the last one they invited Mocha. That lady, I don't even know what is her name. That I think that Efik lady, with pink. He attacked that man. He was saying that, why is it that in this administration, and you people always attack the preacher? Anybody that will come out to say anything concerning this administration, every of you, APC will just stand up and start, attacking the person, which is not supposed to be like that. Everybody have freedom of speech. Everybody can come out and speak what he feel like, what is his own opinion, what is happening in the country. We know that right now our country, Nigeria, is going through a lot. Things are so expensive that even the common man in the street cannot even have 3 square meters to eat. There is no job, everything. People don't have job, and things are so expensive. Sometimes I even wonder how people are living in that Nigeria. Thank God that a lot of people, their family are living in diaspora here, which they will be supporting their family. If not, only God knows the way people will be living in Nigeria. Peter Obi just came out to speak, to say his own mind, I don't know why is it that Peter Obi is a threat to APC. I don't know. Is it not a human being? Is Peter Obi not a human being? Why are they so afraid of Peter Obi? Why? When Peter Obi come out to say anything, they will just Anyway, my beautiful people, what did you think? Please drop your own opinion in the comment section, because this is getting out of hand. And you see the way Mr. Mocha came out last time to deny, to lie, to deny everything. That he did not threaten Peter Obi. It's just he was answering a question that they were asking him, that he did not say anything, he did not threaten Peter Obi. It was a question the interviewer was asking him. Yes, my people. Anyway, my beautiful people, if you have watched this video to this time, thank you very much. My name still remains Joyce Anyanwu. Please subscribe to this channel. If you know you have been watching and you have not subscribed, subscribe. For those that have subscribed, that have been watching, thank you very much. And for those that have been watching and they have not yet subscribed, please subscribe to this channel. Do me a favor to subscribe to this channel. Thank you very, very much for always coming to watch my video. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye for now.